Alright, episode 2 of season 9 of One Tree Hill. It aired on January 18th, and it was a very good episode. It wasn't as exciting as the season premiere, of course, but it definitely helped move the storyline along. Okay, so a recap from last week. We know that Dan's been working in a diner that burned down, and he also lost his place to live. So he approaches Haley at the christening of Brooke's babies and asks if he can stay at the Scott family home. Haley can't talk to Nathan about it because he's out on business, but she agrees to let him stay. Jamie is totally stoked about this, but at the end of the episode, Nathan walks in and sees Dan holding his daughter Lydia, and I'm pretty sure in his mind he silently freaks out. Then we have Clay and Quinn dealing with sleepwalking. We have Chris Keller taking over Red Bedroom Records. We have Brooke's dad showing up literally out of nowhere. And Julian just spent a lot of money purchasing a soundstage. He makes movies, but the movie that he lined up fell through, and so now it's just sitting empty. So if you watched the trailer to this week's episode, you already saw the scene where Brooke and Julian set up in bed, totally startled, because their baby slept, 15 minutes longer than they expected, and they know that something is tragically wrong. I think all new parents have been there, and Chris and I used to play paper, rock, scissors to see who would have to go into the nursery and check on Hannah, because trust me, no one wants that job. We go downstairs and we see that Victoria is taking care of the twins, and it's in an effort, of course, to prove that she is in fact the better parent, whereas Brooke's father, who has been mainly out of the picture and has just recently popped back in, does not deserve all this love and attention that Brooke is giving him. So the entire episode, Nathan and Haley go back and forth with this conversation of whether or not they should let Dan stay. And instead of doing the play-by-play every time we see this couple having the exact same conversation, I'm just going to sum it up. Haley wants to give him another chance. Nathan wants him out of their lives. And Jamie keeps giving his parents guilt trips because he wants to spend time with his grandfather. It's going to happen at least 3 times throughout this episode where Nathan says go, Jamie says, "Where's Grandpa Dan?" And Haley looks disapprovingly at Nathan, and then Nathan says he can come back, and Dan sits there with kind of a smirk and has a meal with his family. For some reason, Clay refuses to see a psychiatrist. So Clay keeps sleepwalking, and Quinn keeps finding him around town, and this time he was picked up by the police, and Quinn actually had to go down to the station to get him. So she finally talks him into going to the doctor, and it's kind of weird because Quinn goes into the doctor's room with him when they find out the news that there's nothing physically wrong and it's all mental. And so then we see them, get this, at the beach house, wearing white, with their feet in the water. Seriously, when I did my series recap and I described this couple, I hit it on the head. Like, I got it exactly right. The only thing that was slightly wrong was that his feet were in a pool of water overlooking the ocean instead of actually in the ocean. But really, that's just a technicality, and I still win. So we don't know what's going on with Clay. We don't know why he's sleepwalking. We don't know what his problem is, but it probably has something to do with Sarah. And the reason why he just wants to keep trying medications and not talking to a psychiatrist probably points to the fact that when he talked with a psychiatrist after his wife passed, something came up. Something is troubling him. And when we see the preview for next week's episode, Quinn apparently seems to catch Clay doing something wrong. So I don't know where the storyline is going, but I hope it gets there quickly, because right now Clay just seems like kind of the tortured, sad male figure, and he used to be the sexy, hot, running through the ocean foam figure. So now I'm having to rely on Julian as like my eye candy, because Nathan's haircut is way too military and he reminds me of my brother, and that's just kind of gross. And so I just have to look at Julian as like the eye candy, and Julian is never topless. Never. Well, maybe once. We finally meet Mouth and Millie. I talked about them in the recap episode, but we hadn't seen them in the premiere. And so this is your first time seeing them, and I don't know if you noticed it or not. If you've never seen the show before, you probably didn't recognize it, but Mouth was wearing a fat suit, and obviously it's going to become a bone of contention between the couple. Mouth and Millie are doing a lot of cooking spots, and Mouth is eating everything. Millie tries to go on a run and invites Mouth, and he just wants to lay on the couch and watch the game. So you can tell that Mouth is completely oblivious to how this is affecting Millie, and Millie just keeps getting angrier and angrier. And within the next couple episodes, it's obviously going to come to a head. I don't know what's going to happen. What, are they just going to like take off the fat suit and he's going to be magically skinny again? But I'm kind of interested to see where this couple ends up. Chase and Alex. In the premiere episode, they had like 15 bedroom scenes, and the only thing that Alex wore was like skinny tank tops and really cute panties. And in this episode, Chase wakes up and he's all alone, and Alex is already at Red Bedroom Records working with Chris Keller on her, I don't know, hit single, her album, something. Chris Keller tells her that in order to, continue on with her career and advance the way that she really needs to go on tour. And that if Chris Keller could do it all over again, Chris Keller wouldn't pass this up. And Alex says, "But I have a boyfriend." Little does she know that in this big, bold, romantic gesture, Chase is just going to move Alex's stuff in instead of asking her if she wants to move in. And then he's going to say, I love you, and when she doesn't say it back, he's going to say, it's okay that you didn't say I love you. It's just, he's like such a noob when it comes to relationships. Then we're not surprised that at the end of the episode, she looks at their 2 toothbrushes sitting in the cup, and she looks at the blue sky poster he's hung up on the wall, and she looks at his like closet crammed with all of her pretty dresses, and she runs back to Red Bedroom Records, and she's like, actually, I think I will go on that tour. And this is her last episode. I feel really bad because I still don't know what the actress's name is. Jana something? I should really look this up before I film this video. I know she's trying to like do a music career and she sings country music, and it's actually not that bad once Chris Keller fixes it. So knowing One Tree Hill the way I do, I would think that they would make Chase just be this brooding, sad character the rest of the season. But earlier in the episode, when he was talking with Chuck about how usually the best women come into your life as soon as you're recovering from a really bad breakup, that's kind of a little too foreshadowing. So you know that by episode 4, he's going to meet another woman, and she's either going to be a fabulous girl, and you know that like after this series is over, they're going to go on and they're going to get married and they're going to have 3.2 kids and a white picket fence, and it's just going to be fabulous. Either that, or she is going to be horrible for him, and it's just going to be kind of like a toxic relationship, but we're going to love watching it. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I'm excited. Okay, let's talk about Brooke a little bit. I love Brooke. Brooke is currently caught between her mother and father's bitter little fighting war. Now her mother doesn't want to support her Baker Man little boy's clothing line idea, so she asks her dad, and her dad is more than willing to support her. So it kind of makes her choose her dad over her mom, which of course her mom is all pissed off about. Now when they go out to lunch, they have this conversation, and I don't even know what they were talking about because all I could think about was how amazing Brooke's makeup is, right? Like she just looks flawless, and I know that her and I have completely different hair color and skin tone, but I wish I could just like wear her makeup. Like she just looks amazing. But then she goes back and she confronts her mom, and I can't even focus on that conversation because I'm like, how in the world is a newly postpartum mom of twins walking around in a thin tank top with no bra on and looks that amazing? Like I know that it has to happen, I don't know, 1 out of 1,000 postpartum moms. Like, of course, there's going to be that genetic freak that just looks amazing postpartum. And I know one of you watching is saying, my boobs look great and I don't have to wear a bra. Fabulous. Also, Brooke's neck is like 4 shades too light for her face. So all of a sudden, this amazing makeup just went to like hell. And the wardrobe, I don't think they've ever met like a postpartum mom. Even a postpartum mom that's like still trying to be hip and stylish, which we know Brooke was going to be. But like her wardrobe is a little unrealistic, I think. I don't know, maybe I should give her more credit. So anyways, Brooke and her mom Victoria fight, and Victoria says, you know, you're right. I should be happy that you're having this relationship with your father, but I can't. And she just like huffs off. We later see her confront her ex-husband in like a restaurant, and we actually get this insight that her dad really isn't doing any of this to help out Brooke and support Brooke, but he's really just doing it to get back at his ex-wife, and it makes you hate him because Brooke has been through so much. Like Lucas broke her heart 1,000,000 times, then they got married in real life, then they got divorced in real life, and then Brooke still had to make out with Lucas on the show. So we don't want to see anyone like mess around with her. And now we've got her dad treating her like this, so Brooke fans are going to be all up in arms over this storyline. And I hope her dad actually turns out to be kind of a nice guy and her Baker Man line ends up not being a huge flop. But either way, I know Victoria's going to be there at the end of the day to pick up her daughter because she's changed. She became this amazing mom that she never was, but I don't think her father is going to live up to that. So at the end of the episode, we see Clay sitting in a pharmacy waiting for his name, and as soon as his name is called, he just stands up and walks out of the pharmacy and doesn't even pick up his prescription. Then Haley and Nathan are still talking about Dan. Seriously, it's just a back and forth the whole episode long. Nothing happens. Where is the Scott family stalker? We see him like 3 times in the season premiere, and we don't see him a single time this entire episode. And maybe it's because Big Bad Dan is there to like guard the house, but you have to kind of wonder like, where did that plot line go? It's probably going to be picked up in episode 3 once Nathan is no longer in the house, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen some little hint. I also would have liked to have seen the girls at the cafe, but that'll probably be in episode 3. Throughout the ending, Chris Keller is singing a song, and it's great. I love Chris Keller's voice. His actual name is Tyler Hilton. I think he's related to Paris Hilton. The only thing I can think of the whole time he's singing is that he really needs some makeup. He's so shiny. He looks like a prepubescent teenager with like an overactive T-zone. So then it gets to Dan and Jamie, and they're downstairs at the table playing poker for whippets, which is my kind of poker. Who needs money when you've got a can of whipped cream? Dan and Nathan go outside to talk, which really means Nathan just yells at him and tells him, you need to leave before I get back. But the creepy thing is that as Nathan drives away, well, as Nathan's driver drives Nathan away, Dan watches the car go and he has this like super creepy moment where you just like know that something bad is going to happen to Nathan, and you know that Dan knows. Creepy. And then the way that Dan like ushers Jamie back into the house, so creepy. I want to like Dan. I want to give him another chance, but it's just that look in his eye. Maybe that's just who he is, but I think that's, again, something's going to happen to Nathan, and Dan knows. Maybe it has to do with why his diner burned down. I don't know. What did you think of this episode? Do you like any characters or any of the storylines standing out to you? What do you think is going to happen with Clay and Quinn? Do you think it's all in Clay's mind? Do you think something's physically wrong with him? Do you think he has like a drug problem? Do you think this has to do with his dead wife? What is going on with Clay? Do you like Fat Mouth and Millie? Do you think that they're going to be like a funny storyline this season? Or do you think it's going to be a storyline based on like weight loss and health? I don't really know where this is going. And finally, what do you think of Jamie and Chuck? Which one do you think is the worst child actor? I want to like both of them. They're cute little kids, but Chuck is super annoying, and the way that Jamie always laughs at all of his jokes as he's delivering his lines makes me think of like Jimmy Fallon on Saturday Night Live. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. Can't wait till next week. This was a decent episode. It moved the storyline along, but again, no questions were answered. Lots of questions are still up in the air. I can't wait to see where these characters are going and how everything's going to get wrapped up, and I'm so glad that you're coming along and watching this last season with me. And Quinn and Clay fall madly in love, and they spend most of their time at Clay's beach house, and they're wearing white flowing clothing, and they're like walking in the surf, and it's all idyllic and ridiculous.